And I know how it feels like, you overeat and it creeps up on you. You think you're going to be on a diet, and then it's like Christmas, and then you're like, oh, I'm going to do it for New Year's. And just that self-loathing that like, oh, I don't fit in my clothes anymore, and my skin's not looking great, and I feel older, I look older, and like nobody wants that. So the thought of like a juice cleanse, if it really is going to make you feel better, sounds great. But do we really need to do the juice cleanse? Or because not only are these other issues that happen where you're spiking your insulin and you're not getting enough nutrients during that time, and you're not truly fasting and getting all those benefits, but you're also messing up your metabolism.
Welcome to Black Belt Beauty Radio, a podcast fueled by a passion to support your journey in developing your most beautiful and optimal performance in life. Each episode is driven with the intention to elevate your mind. When we elevate our mind, we elevate our life. So get ready. It's time to rise. What's up, you guys? Welcome back to another episode of Black Belt Beauty Radio. Today's episode is round 2 with my friend, clinical nutritionist, Juli Keene. Juli and I, in this conversation, get down on a very timely subject with summer right here upon us. People often ask me if I like detoxes or cleanses with a particular focus, around juice cleansing and whatnot. And the truth is, no, I don't do any of that stuff. I have in the past. So I'm definitely, tuned in to a lot of what happens in the body and just, the process of it. And, Juli, obviously, with being an expert in nutrition of over 20 years, she has a lot to say about this stuff. So, I think that a lot of times people have this idea of their summer body, and this modality of cleansing or detoxing is kind of the fast route in a lot of people's minds to getting to that summer body. So we talk about that, what's the difference between a detox and cleanse? What are the effects on the body, from a juice cleanse, and, all kinds of rad stuff, foods that actually promote detoxification in the body, and, just the mental process about it all. So it's a very rich conversation that I think is going to be beneficial to a lot of people who, maybe are on a roller coaster of cleanses throughout the year, or are thinking about doing a cleanse and not sure about it. So, everyone is going to do what feels right for them. I think the main objective here is just to empower all of you with the actual knowledge, science-backed research, knowledge that is so valid, so that you on this subject, so that if it is something that you're going to do, you at least know what you're actually doing. And it's a complex subject. So there was a lot to say. I hope that you enjoy the conversation. We had a blast doing it. And let me know, hit me up on Instagram, hit Juli up if with any questions or comments, your thoughts. We love to hear from you. And without further ado, here is my conversation with Juli Keene. What's up, everyone? Welcome back. You guys, I'm so excited to have my friend Juli Keene back on the show. She is a clinical nutritionist badass, a woman who knows her business in diet nutrition like a total rock star. Seriously, you guys, she has a degree in biochemistry. Thank you for coming back, Juli.
Thank you. Hi, Black Belt Beauties, men and women.
So you guys, before we get into today's episode, I want to go ahead and say that in the show notes, you will find episode 12, where our first episode Juli and I had together, where we talk about all kinds of good, really important things in the areas of diet nutrition, such as like the keto diet and paleo diet versus your personalized diet, basically tribal diets is what we like to call it. And you get more of a background on Juli because she's legit a wealth of knowledge in this arena. So I highly recommend, after tuning into this episode, that you check that one out. So I'm excited. Today is all about the summer body that's approaching. And let me explain what that even means. So a lot of people have been hitting me up, Julie as well, about, hey, summer's coming and what can I do to get into my best kind of summer shape, obviously by way of diet, nutrition. And what we get asked a lot about is cleanses and detoxes. So that's the focus of this particular episode. What is a cleanse? What is a detox? Are they the same thing? Is it really an optimal way for you to kind of get in this ideal shape? We're going to get into that right now. So the first place I'm going to start is, Julie, is there even a difference between cleanse and detox, or is this semantics and marketing?
That is a great question, and thank you for that intro, Roxy. You're so sweet. Okay, so cleansing and detoxing is generally the same thing as far as the marketing. When you see like a bottle that says, buy this cleansing juice or buy these detox juices or whatever, I think generally most people are talking about a product, right, that you can buy that, or a bunch of products, like buy a bunch of juices and just only drink juices all day, or buy certain, herbs or certain tea or something to cleanse or detox. So it's either a program or a product, and
but the words are the same.
Generally, they think they mean the same thing. They're marketing,
right?
And then there's some companies now call it purification, or there's just
they're getting more clever
semantics.
with
they're getting
marketing.
clever because they know that we're all kind of looking for that magic
pill,
easy way out, the magic pill, and the get skinny quick plan, or get in shape quick plan, and they're going to be there to provide it because we're going to keep buying it. So
so cool. So now that we kind of debunked the wording, because that's a big, I feel like marketing is a big part of this.
Huge.
Those are actual trending words. You say detox and someone's like, oh my god, yes, I need to detox. It's like, well, do you really actually?
Yeah.
So I mean, because I feel like more often the people that ask me these kind of questions, like, what kind of cleanse or detox would you recommend, or do you recommend any? What they're really reaching for is they're not really toxic in the body, right? I feel like it's more, there might be certain elements for sure, depending on their diet, do they drink a lot, are they taking pharmaceuticals, but most people, and this is a generalization, just from my own experience with the people that, I've, have reached out to me or that I talked to about this, they're really just trying to lose some weight, get control of their diet so that it's not controlling them, and that they can feel energized and feel beautiful. Meaning, what does that mean, beautiful? Like when you see these detox marketing things that they're doing, it's like brighter eyes, clearer skin, and we'll go into that later, but that's what they're after. They want the vitality that comes with
eating well.
Really, yeah, exactly. I love how it's under your breath. You're like, eating well, so let's start there. I mean, maybe a good place to start actually is juice cleanses. Because I feel like that is the go-to for so many people. I want to lose weight. I want to do it fast. Okay, cool. So I'm in a juice cleanse, and I'm going to have, it's vegetable juice, or there's fruit juice with it.
Right.
Now some companies are adding some protein shakes with it too, which is that's better actually than not having it. But can we talk about juice cleanses?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I love this. They're pretty much everywhere now in LA, and they have been for a while.
They're everywhere.
I've been doing this a long time, and so it's funny to watch the evolution of different juice cleanses in these companies. So, am I loud enough?
No, you're great.
So I feel like also with your list of like the clear skin and all that, some people just want to poop regularly, and a lot of people do not have a bowel movement every day, or even you should have probably more than one. You guys, if you're eating 3 meals, you should have 3 bowel movements a day. So part of the people do think they feel better on these juice cleanses, and there's a couple reasons for this. One is they're not eating their regular diet. So when you have a cleanse mentality, then it's like detox and retox. You know that you're gonna like go and splurge or eat whatever. It's like a game most people play in their own heads with. I'm just gonna eat all these whatever Cheetos and Doritos and
drink
white bread and drink beer and drink all this soda and stuff, and then, or maybe I'm on a vacation, or maybe I'm just working hard and I'm just not going to focus on my nutrition at all. I'm not going to eat vegetables, and then I'm going to go and do a 5-day or 10-day or 2-day juice detox or juice cleanse or whatever they're calling it these. And then it makes, and a lot of people did this over the holidays, and it makes them feel like they're getting control, like you said, right? And they feel better because, one, they're not eating the foods they're regularly eating. And I call them like drug foods or fake foods. When you are eating like breads and cheese and like all these processed foods, and these are very inflammatory and they do act as drugs. So a lot of these foods, you take a Snicker bar, there's so much sugar in that. There's so much not healthy fats. There's some peanuts, which aren't horrible, but they're not the best nuts if you're going to eat nuts, right? So literally you get a rush of dopamine, you get serotonin, you don't get a rush immediately with serotonin, but you get that later, and that's what part of what makes you sleepy after, besides the blood sugar rush. And you're completely like hijacking your whole insulin system and your blood sugar. So, but you do feel good for a while, and it might get you from 1 p.m. until dinner time. Who knows? It might get you 1 p.m. until 3 p.m. And then you need a cup of coffee or you need something else. But so when you're doing just, let's say, fresh, let's just say you went and got fresh juices squeezed, or you're squeezing fresh juices, and they're even, I would say, mostly vegetables, and even maybe an apple, or because it's really hard to drink just plain vegetable juices, although sometimes, maybe even beet and celery doesn't taste too bad, and you can put some greens in that, but the beet's sweet. You gotta have, you don't have to, but it's pretty hardcore to just drink.
I know that there's, juice companies who have, the all green option.
Yeah, they do.
No sugar basically, or they'll put a green apple in there or something. Yeah. But usually there's a mixture of the carrots and the beets, so there are some elements of sugar in, or more sugary juices with the greens. But even still.
Yeah, right. And people say plants have proteins. A lot of like tribally vegan. So there are people who are vegan who just don't want to feel like eating meat. And then there are people who are super tribal and are convinced that it's their life and their only diet, which is fine. But if you really look at the science, there's no protein. There's not a complete protein in vegetables. So human beings have a hard time surviving on just plants by themselves. Can you do it? You can do it when you eat some processed protein powders and supplements and things like that. And otherwise, I have to say the truth from my experience, maybe there's 5% of the people who can do really well and be bodybuilders, maybe 10, but I haven't, and I've been doing this 22 years, you guys, so I haven't seen a whole lot of success because, and I myself have been vegan for almost 10 years, so I'm speaking from experience. At some point, your brain chemistry and your muscles and everything get depleted, and you just have to make a change for whatever that is. And I don't
even if it's adding protein powder, like you said, but you
plant
want
protein or whatever. It has to be your body. The way amino acids work is they're broken down and put back together anyway. But if you no longer have all the aminos you need, you're not going to make any protein. And part of detoxing correctly is to build cells. And if you can't, right? Because if you can't,
so huge
you don't have that gas for your cell building or for your autophagy and all that stuff, you're too deficient, you're not going to detox. And that's where you see people with anorexia and eating disorders. They don't look good. They're gray, first of all, and they're dead looking in the eyes, and they're not eliminating correctly, and they're sick, basically. So you don't want that from something you're using to cleanse. So
right.
I guess,
and the cleanses are usually, I know that the length of times can vary, but I feel like let me say this. I think also one other aspect of why people would want to go on a cleanse outside of gaining control of the foods that they eat and eliminating what, the kind of quote unquote bad or whatever. We don't need to frame it like that, but just, foods that are not
healthy, not serving.
Exactly, not serving your health. I also think that there's something to be said about portion control.
Oh yeah.
That's a big one, because I feel like the greatest example is after the holidays, where people just go all in and eat whatever, however much, and it's the mindset is already there of, I don't care. It's the holidays. I'm going to drink, I'm going to eat, because then I'm going to start a cleanse. You can already see the light at the end of the tunnel, right? Because I'm going to do the cleanse afterwards. So I'm going to get my portions back in. I'm going to under control. I'm going to get the foods that I'm eating under control. And this,
because my stomach will shrink.
And yeah, exactly. Because it naturally will happen. But, there's a few different ways I feel like we can go, and I think that we'll go in all of them, but we'll keep it focused because it's so easy to go in so many. Because on the one hand, we can touch on the psychological aspect of that thought process, period, right? That's one part. Then the other part is, how foods actually have the natural ability to be they're cofactors. It's information that's telling your body, if it's, food that's, supporting your health, obviously healthy foods, it's information that's, telling your genes, telling your cells, telling your system what to do to be able to naturally keep your body in its optimal health. And I don't even want to use the word detox, but it's going to fight inflammation. It's going to fight. It is going to eliminate what you don't need. It's going to fight, free radicals, which, antioxidants do. So it's not, you essentially can get detoxified from eating optimal foods and not necessarily having to, do the juice cleanse or the, So that's one. So I would love to touch on that too. So maybe we go in that direction and then we go psychology.
You want to do that first? Okay. Yeah. I was heading more towards mine, but let me. So
wherever you want to
go. Okay. So with the mind, it's just that frame of mind where I think a lot of it too is that. Because I was trapped in this once upon a time too, where the foods you're eating are so addictive that they literally it's like an alcoholic or a drug addict. You start justifying overeating at holidays or overeating too many cookies or too much candy, or because they're literally helping you survive. Like they're making your brain function when you start to get scattered. Why are you getting scattered? You're not sure, but it's probably because you're deficient in whatever. Your diet isn't perfect. Like when I work with people, the first thing they say is, oh my God, my mood, I'm so much more stable throughout the day and I feel more clear. Well, that's what you feel when you do these juice cleanses, not the first couple days. The first couple days, what actually happens is your body gets flooded with toxins, and then your liver and kidneys can't actually move that all out right away. So you feel achy and kind of fluey and just crappy. Most people do. And withdrawal, like you have coffee and sugar and all these withdrawals. And then most people start pooping because they weren't eating enough fiber and stuff. Hopefully they would poop a little bit. And then you start not realizing that you don't need that much food and that you're clear from the drugs. It's like a drug addict getting sober, honestly, to a lower level. It is. Yeah. And you kind of are more, people say they're more woke after these cleanses, and they really feel like it's the juice doing it. And the juice is just the vegetables you probably should be eating anyway during the day. Yeah. And they're just in a plastic bottle or a glass bottle or whatever. And you're drinking it, and you're fasting, and I have nothing against fasting, like regular fasting, by the way, which we can.
We will talk about that because I think it's important to differentiate. From the benefits
from a water fast. So the mental part is just that mindset where we don't know, but the reason why you want to overeat at the holidays, what you reminded me of, is because the food is triggering you, and or you've been dieting for so long, and you have this. I shouldn't eat that much of this. I shouldn't eat this. Like food has become so twisted for us because the system is so messed up, and what we've been taught is not correct for most of the time, and the guidelines aren't correct. So if you're eating the right foods, if you're eating the right amount of protein for you and the right amount of vegetables and cooking them in the right way with healthy fats or in a salad or something, and you're eating a measured amount of carbohydrate, the right types of real food, there's no way that you're triggered to keep eating more unless you've been starving yourself and you're having some kind of a recarbing, where if you're eating keto or whatever and you're not eating enough carbohydrates, then when you finally do kick in and eat normal food, and to me it's not normal, but you start eating processed foods again, you get triggered. Or even if you're just eating rice, potato, actually not so processed foods, whole pieces of fruit, but then you haven't had carbs and then you sit down and you eat a bowl of watermelon, you might be triggered to eat too much. But if you're eating the way that I eat, the way you eat, it's very rare that I want to overeat because the food doesn't give me a drug high.
Right.
It just fuels me to get to the next point, from point A to point B.
That's such a great point. Yeah, I mean, you had said before when we were talking that, you don't want to eat anything that gives you a rush, because what happens when there's a rush?
Yeah, I don't like jonesing.
There's a drop.
Anything.
But it's I loved hearing that, because it's so true. These foods that give you a rush, there has to be a drop after a rush.
Right, exactly.
So
give me another hit. No, I'm not getting on that merry-go-round.
Well, so, and then I love that you just said that, because there's like the mental part of the merry-go-round, and then there's the actual diet part of the merry-go-round, so why this topic is actually really important to me is because when I love to, empower people who come to me with the best possible knowledge and wisdom that supports longevity, supports optimal diet, having control in their diet, not some quick fix, trendy, do this now and then all of a sudden, you're back at, -2, you're not even at 0 anymore. So now you got to go. It's like, it's important, I feel, to kind of dissect this topic with the intention of giving our listeners, hey guys, yes, you could do things like this, but really understand what you're doing. If you want to do it, if you want to get on a juice cleanse and, feel lighter because you've dropped some water weight in a few days,
and
okay,
and some poop,
and you stepped away from, the drinking and the, and sometimes I think also this is kind of the psychological part. When there's so many things in life that are not within our control, it's like, oh my God, let me just do the one thing that I can to gain control, right? But really what ends up happening, you guys, so often, more often than not, and I have done these juice cleanses before, I know all about them through my own experiences, you're screwing up your metabolism.
Yep, exactly.
If you were to say, I'm going to do a juice cleanse and I'm never going to go towards fast food again, or any of my kind of these ways that were driving me to even want to do a juice cleanse, if that's the case, then okay, then this might be something that can serve you, perhaps, right?
Yes. Yeah.
But if this is just a modality that you turn to lose some weight and to get control mentally, or feel like you have control on an emotional level or on a mental level, but then you're going to find yourself back at this, other place that you really actually... Yeah. Here's the thing. If you're escaping something, it's not working for you. You want to get to a place where you don't have to do these things, or you don't want to do these things. And if you are going to do a fast, like Julie and I said, and we're going to get into, it's something like a water fast where you're actually doing it for autophagy, where you can, your cells are cleaning themselves from, the damaged parts of them. So we can go into that right now if you want to too. Can we talk about the difference of what goes down with a juice cleanse versus like a water fast?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. So a juice fast, and you're still eating, you're still getting carbohydrates, and you're still getting basically sugar. You are getting nutrients from that juice, which is fine, but you're getting them in a very concentrated form that's not natural to your body versus eating vegetables. So, and you're hungry. Even though you're drinking those juice, you guys, you're hungry and you're going through withdrawal. I just feel like personally it's a lot harder than when you just like tweak your diet with the types of foods you're eating, and maybe some little keto, and maybe whether you're vegan or not, and playing with the amount of hours that you work, which is time restricted eating. I feel like that's a lot more effective. But so we talked about the mental part, that it's pretty much becomes an addiction, these quick fixes and things like that. And so then it becomes its own drama. So if you decided you really want to go this way, I really feel like, and it's funny, when I was a kid, my parents are total hippies, and they used to do water fasts all the time. And I feel like, I've done them. I've done them over my lifetime, and I think, and scientifically, a water fast is healthier for you than a juice fast. And because you have to look at what you're really getting in a juice fast. You're not really getting enough nutrients to hold you. You're getting a little bit of calories, but
you're releasing insulin, whereas in a water fast you're not.
Yeah, and then you're releasing, growth factor, and you've got all these other hormones, and it's going to take a while for all the stuff to get out of your body, all the junk you've been eating, the excess from whatever that is, the residual. So I feel like with a real fast where you're just drinking water because you have to drink water, it's not like your food or anything, you just stay hydrated, you're actually getting autophagy, like you mentioned, and your body is able to take a rest. And
Can you explain what autophagy?
Autophagy is your cells all have a time when they're going to die, right? And I think I never say this right. Apoptosis is.
I love that word. Apoptosis, guys.
It's like so. Planned cell death. Your cells have a time when it's their time to just die, when they become injured. So cells become dirty and injured and just kind of funky, and naturally your body should be able to go through, and I believe it's your immune system that does this, to go through and clean those out and just either fix them or get rid of them. And that's autophagy. And that's basically either fixing or get ridding so that the cells that you have are a higher percentage of healthy cells. Because your body runs so much better, and that keeps your genetics cleaner too, or happier. So, and your genes are kind of like the instructions for your entire metabolism and your entire body. And I'm talking about the genetics you're born with, but also our genetics can get so out of whack in the way that they express and work. The way they work can be affected by poor nutrition, and by stress, and by bad sleep, and things
lifestyle
like that.
affects our genes.
Yeah, lifestyle, right? Big time. And then our genes in turn affect, whether we're going to get, a big gut as we get older, or jowly, or all that stuff, like affect is our genes, and also our moods, how much stress we can take before it starts being, causing weight gain, or causing, immune system dysfunction and things like that. A lot of that is governed by our genes and how healthy they are. I like to Dr. Ben Lynch has a book called Dirty Genes, and I'm getting used to calling them dirty and clean, because it's a good way to put it. It's really, I love that. Well put, that they're either, are they clean or are they dirty? Are they optimal or are they suboptimal? And that's important. So
autophagy, basically takes place with water fasting.
With water fasting, and not with juice fasting. And it takes place when you're sleeping. And it also can take place in ketosis, I believe, or with time restricted eating. There's going to be a period when you're in autophagy. We're having autophagy is happening,
But you get the most autophagy from just a water fast.
A water fast,
So if you were really, trying to quote unquote detoxify, there's some things going on. Right. That's the most optimal.
At a cellular level, that's detoxification at a cellular. So detoxification could mean, I think a lot of people think of it as cleaning their intestines out, and then they're like, one patient told me that she wanted to see parasites and all kinds of pathogens in the toilet and worms, and because she was reading that there was that you were impacted with all these pounds of fecal matter and all this, and I was thinking that's it's people do think that, but that's not what you're going to get from a juice cleanse or any of these products.
And that's a great point to just say that, really a smoothie, a green smoothie would be more optimal towards optimal health, right? It would
in the long run.
In the long run.
Or in the short run, I guess, both.
Well, here's my thought to it, and tell me what you think. Because of the fiber content, your microbiome, or gut bacteria, you guys, which is essentially how I kind of illustrate it, or verbalize it and then illustrate it, it's like the remote control to our health. And it's being more and more proven. Science is it's coming out nonstop that, it's essentially, I'm going to illustrate a vision, but it's like the army that protects our entire system, our immune system. And there's something called the brain gut axis, which that we'll save for another episode, but that's basically your gut bacteria communicating to your brain, literally, right? And your gut bacteria thrives on one thing: thrives on fiber. So if you're not getting adequate amounts of fiber, which most Americans are not, and you get that obviously through fruits, vegetables, heavily vegetables, nuts, seeds, you're not going to get that fiber. So thinking about a juice cleanse, and if you're doing like a 24-day, some people do it for long periods of time, you're not feeding your microbiome.
No.
And so that's not really,
and your moods will suffer. And then, so if you're low, and if you're low in serotonin, dopamine, and all those catecholamines and things that are made from your those cells, the gut, the microbiome, and in your brain. Some of it's in your brain. Now, the more science I see over the years, the more comes now from the gut than the brain. They
call it the first brain now.
Right? When I first started reading about this stuff, there's a book called The Molecules of Emotion, which is one of my favorite, by Candace Pert. And it started, the other books were The Mood Cure, and there's some great books, The Anti-Anxiety Mood Solution for Women by Trudy Scott. Julia Ross was The Mood Cure. If you guys are into this kind of gut-brain and food-brain connection, you're going to feel depressed, you're going to feel anxious, and this is going to be a huge contributor, not just the juice fast causing this, but the alternating between eating nutrient-devoid foods that act like drugs in the body, which is basically if you eat Jiffy peanut butter and Smucker's jelly and white bread or even wheat bread, it's a drug food. I'm sorry. All three of those things are going to act like, even though that's a very common food that people eat, or let's say you eat sliced ham with nitrates all over it and mayonnaise and ketchup or mustard or whatever and bread, again, it's a drug food. If you're eating Twinkies, that's a drug food. They're drug foods. They're made in a factory, and we said this on the last one where a scientist sits there, Roxy said it, and is trying to figure out how to make you addicted to that food. And they do it really well. These chemicals really work well. Like when you eat Chinese food and the MSG, you're hungry 30 minutes later.
Oh my gosh, it's crazy.
It's crazy, right? It works. Or even sushi, I'm hungry an hour later. It's because they put sugar in that rice. And I think Dave Asprey, Mr. Bulletproof Coffee, he sells his brain octane and says put it on the rice, which I've been doing that for years. If I really want to eat something, I want to eat the rice with the sugar, but if I want to eat something really carby, I throw some extra fat on it, and then I don't have that
spike of the insulin.
The spike,
right.
And I just feel better. I didn't know what I was doing science-wise early on, but it makes sense. My body's I'm really in tune with my body that way. And now I wasn't before, but I feel like you have to go back to that. If you're not coming from a good microbiome, you get more in that cycle of alternating between eating junk food and then doing something extreme or dieting or something to get back in control.
Right.
And it's so much nicer to just to not have to do that. And I know it's something that you have to learn, but there are steps you can take to go there. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that I understand that sometimes there is, there could be an event, there's a wedding, there's something coming up where it's people want to resort to the fastest, modality, but that's why I think it's so important to understand what you're really doing. And that's why I love, right now explaining, okay, so when you're actually fasting, and a real fast is you're doing a water fast. That's really what you're doing. Or you're not, time restricted eating.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, I think you can have black coffee,
which is so easy for not for everybody, because you have to genetically handle it. But if you learn how to, I do this with a lot of my patients, either if they have to cut weight for their sport or they have to, and I do have eating disorder patients. I see all kinds of people, but it's so much easier to play around with your macros and your ratios and being a little bit ketogenic here and there than it is to do even a 4-day juice cleanse. It's not easy, you guys. I mean, I know it's that mindset of I'm going to power through it because I was so bad during the holidays, and now this is kind of, and I see that with a lot of my compulsive overeaters. They feel like they will. One lady said to me, and I love her dearly, she's the best, she said, I have never lost weight without doing a cleanse first, because she feels like it needs to be extreme. Either she's being punished for her bad eating, or she's doesn't have control over it.
I think it's so much of the control thing. I think that when people get kind of in quotations, prescribe this. This is the only thing you can do. It's like, okay, you get into what did you call it?
Well, they get so desperate for.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I think that sometimes it's the restrictiveness is actually it's easier to follow.
Exactly.
You know, versus
Exactly.
because otherwise. Too many choices. I'm just gonna have. I mean, and here's the thing. This makes sense in so many ways, right?
Yeah.
Where, from an evolutionary standpoint, we did not have access to food. Period. Forget about what kind of food. We can talk about that too. But we didn't have access to food the way that we do now. Now it's everywhere. We can eat at any time of day, however much we want, really. But on top of that access that we have now, we have more. I'm going to straight up just say like garbage food available than, foods that are optimizing our health. And so the actual threat now becomes food. Whereas before the threat was we didn't have enough food. We need, so it's a really interesting thing. And it does take discipline and it does take control. And I think that, that's where a lot of this, the idea about cleansing and juicing, it's really, I want to get control. And so why do we even want control? I love thinking about the motivating factor, the why factor. What is it that you guys really, why would you really be turning to this outside of, I just want to lose, because I don't think anybody just wants to lose, X amount of pounds only to gain it back. I don't think anybody goes into a cleanse thinking that. Yeah. But the thing is, it's so easy to lose weight. It's not easy to keep it off. That's why I think it's so important right now to really focus on what is the motivating factor. And I believe from my experience and just connecting with people and witnessing what I have, it's really, I want to get control of my diet so I can feel and look my best for as long as I possibly can in my life.
Yeah.
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 I mean, that's the, right?
Yeah. You want a more of a long-term effect from it. And I think people
that's what most people are reaching for.
Yeah.
So that being said, let's talk about how foods naturally have the ability, to promote detoxification, to promote our genes to be upregulating, which means like gene expression, like you're using these, everyone has these anti-inflammatory genes or these DNA repair damage genes. Are you utilizing them? Are you upregulating them? Are you doing what it takes to switch them on so they're actually working for you? So they're fighting the free radicals, they're fighting the inflammation, they're fighting, the damage that even just naturally happens to healthy people, just from living, right? Because we're eating and we're breathing, so we're naturally kind of dying at the same time. It's so weird.
From the process of living,
From the process of living.
Metabolic waste.
Yeah, so foods, can we talk about, some of the greatest life-promoting foods? Maybe we could talk a little bit about polyphenols, hormesis,
Well, I mean, polyphenols, resveratrol, things like blueberries and most berries, and those are foods that actually create a chemical process in your body that help to protect you against toxins and against getting cancer and against resveratrol is sirtuins, and sirtuins actually they're playing around with science with your telomeres. So, and telomeres have a lot to say.
It's like the biomarker of your age.
Yeah, like what your metabolic and your metabolic age, and it has a lot for longevity. So these are foods that literally you could just go pick out in nature. I mean, I don't know where there's any blueberries growing, but I could buy them at Whole Foods.
Yeah, wild blueberries. I mean, it's always on my stories. They're part of my daily diet.
I have huge bags in my freezer.
I think we even talked about it last time. I'm obviously obsessed with them, but turmeric is another.
And the wild and organic, by the way.
Yeah, always wild. I like everything wild.
Yeah. Turmeric, curcumin.
Turmeric is curcumin is a polyphenol, and so it acts as it's what it's called hormesis in the body. So it kind of it's like a little stimulant of a toxicity. The word is hard for me to say. So it's like the right amount of
it's a good stress.
It's a good stress. That's the perfect way to put it.
Yeah.
That then upregulates, switches these genes on to be working to your benefit. So honestly, like even just including turmeric in your diet on a daily basis, or taking, I love turmeric, but if you wanted to also, further it, you can actually take curcumin pills, supplements.
I take it almost every day. Yeah. I take it in a phospholipid form because they found that if you take it with a healthy fat, it gets used and assimilated a lot better. And most people cook with it, and then when they cook, it's in fat.
And black pepper is another.
Black pepper helps. It helps. You'll see. What's the name of it? Something nigum. Piper nigum. I don't know if I'm saying it right because it's a Latin, but supplements for years. You'll have that little Piper nigerum or something like that, and it's black pepper because it's a type of black pepper that helps the effect of all the herbs, like it does with turmeric.
So cool how it does that.
Yeah, and then I know, isn't that cool? And then quercetin, like quercetin comes from bromelain, which comes from pineapple. And I'm not saying eat a ton of pineapple, but a little bit of pineapple here and there if you throw some in a smoothie.
White onions too, is it?
I was gonna say it's in other fruits and vegetables as well. And I just take it in a capsule. Pretty much allergy season, I take it every day. I take quercetin and nettles because it's better than like Claritin or Singulair. Like it literally, I've taken them all because I have allergies, and the quercetin and nettles just gets rid of my allergies immediately.
I love that. It's like food is medicine.
It is a pharmacy.
That's the thing.
I mean, it is. Food is, plants are our natural pharmacy, like pharmacy with an F.
Let thy food be thy medicine, and then medicine be thy food. Thank you, Aristotle.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's so true, and I think it's such, again, it's not a magic pill, it's not the fast route, but, what's more attractive? Let's think about this. Losing 5 pounds for, a month, or pretty much, that's kind of, and then getting back on this. It's not just a physical roller coaster, and I think that's the part that's really important to realize. It's such an emotional roller coaster. It's dramatic. It's annoying. It's exhausting. It's like, oh my God. Yeah. To feel liberated with your diet because it's working for you, fuck.
Right? Yeah, and to not have to, don't worry, to not have to be a slave to that. And I know how it feels like, you overeat and it creeps up on you. You think you're going to be on a diet, and then it's like Christmas, and then you're like, oh, I'm going to do it for New Year's. And just that self-loathing, that like, oh, I don't fit in my clothes anymore, and my skin's not looking great, and I feel older, I look older, and like nobody wants that. So the thought of like a juice cleanse, if it really is going to make you feel better, sounds great. But do we really need to do the juice cleanse? Or because not only are these other issues that happen where you're spiking your insulin and you're not getting enough nutrients during that time, and you're not truly fasting and getting all those benefits, but you're also messing up your metabolism each time you do that. That's it's like important. The diet yo-yo as well, where each time you do that, does your stomach shrink? Yeah, it shrinks because you're not stuffing it with food drugs all the time and things. That's another thing. It's really hard to jam your stomach too full with vegetables because they fill with water and they get bigger.
High volume foods.
Yeah, high volume foods.
You can have a big bowl.
Thank you. I couldn't think of that expression.
A lot of my bowls that I post on Instagram, they're big ass bowls of veggies, with some nuts and some proteins and whatever. But the caloric intake is not. It's super. It's a very healthy caloric intake. I'll leave it there. Because it's essentially vegetables that are full of water.
Right. And I mean
fiber.
Right. And so that you don't need to shrink your stomach after that, but like I said, it's really hard to overeat salmon or chicken or eggs or even a plant protein powder, and it's really hard to overeat because you're not getting the emotional or the physical. You do these juice cleanses and your metabolism now is really sensitive when you start eating again because your body, you've been starving it. Basically, it thinks you've been starving it,
so what
and
does
not
it
in
do?
A good way. So now when you put this food back in, you get a little bit of an adrenaline rush, you get a buzz because you're eating again, you get, when you have that insulin goes up, your body's now more sensitive to insulin. You would think it would, juice cleansing sounds like it would do a good thing and reset your blood sugar and stuff at a lower point, but that's not necessarily good, first of all, and it doesn't do that for everybody, for most people, you're now more sensitive when you do eat. So your body's going to go, oh, thank God I've been starving. Store it all as fat.
Yeah.
What you should be, not I'm going to say should, but what I would want to be more the goal for my patients or for me or for Roxy is to, or for you guys is to start learning how to train your body to not need those food drugs anymore and to not need the cleanses to get control. Like, it's really hard to lose control from where I sit now and where Roxy sits now, because birthday cake, it's not appealing to me. And I'll eat it, you guys. If I want it, I'll eat it. My family knows that. I'll take a bite and I just go, oh, or a couple bites. And sometimes I'm like, wow, that tastes like so sweet and delicious. And then I'm sick, like, in 20 minutes later, I'm like, oh, I don't feel good. Or, you know, and I eat chocolate once in a while, like clean chocolate, but it just doesn't appeal to me very much anymore, unless it's like, I don't know, it'd have to be a really good reason. And I just like my food. I like the real food that I eat, and I love feeling good.
That's, yeah. I love that you said that, because I often say feeling good feels too good to not feel good. So it's really easy. I mean, I think that there is there's the aspect that your taste buds, your body starts to crave different things. So just kind of playing off of what you said, echoing it a bit, I have absolutely not even any desire, any desire for any processed food, I don't care if grandma made the cake, like, I love you, grandma, but like, no. It's not, unless it's like gluten-free, sugar-free, or whatever, and the reason why, it's not the psychological of I need the free, it's literally because my diet and my body, the way it functions, what it enjoys, what it craves is the blueberry, is the coconut, is the baru nut, is the avocado, is the salmon. I don't crave these things. This was not an overnight process. This is like 20 years of work. Now, that's probably not...
It won't take you 20 years, though.
I was going to say, that's probably not exciting for you guys to hear.
Turn off the podcast. I'm going to McDonald's. Sorry, I've been doing this too long. I know, like, come back. Don't listen. She's joking.
No, but I also kind of live,
she's hardcore.
I don't even like to say that I'm hardcore, because what does that really mean then? That this is such a difficult place to be living at or living from? The truth is, I feel fucking great, you guys. I feel liberated. I feel energized. I feel excited. My food is very romantic to me. I mean, for all the you guys who follow me on Instagram, it's a love affair that I'm very passionate about. But I guess the main thing is, what feels the best outside of the actual biological things that are happening to me is the emotional freedom that I have by doing the steps that I had to take over the span of, X amount of time, to be able to get to this place. And like I said, I did the juice cleanses. I remember, let me tell you something, my abs on a juice cleanse versus my abs now, the juice cleanse, there was always kind of a little bit of something extra that doesn't exist anymore now that I, have my diet under control and really working for me. So again, it takes more time, but if your big motivating factor, and only you really know this, if it's really to say, I want to get off the roller coaster, I want to gain control of my health, I want to feel great, not just for a month, and look great, not just for a month, I want to take this great feeling and looking and ride it for as long as I can in my life, you might want to second guess the quote unquote detox and cleanse and really, take into consideration a lot of what Julie has just said about, the diet approach, because there's so many other ways, again, we talked about like intermittent fasting or time restricted eating, really checking in with, maybe it's like, it's time to consult with someone like Julie, even, an actual pro who can guide your diet to say, and not just like an ideal trendy diet, like, oh, everybody does this or that, but a diet that actually works, great for your specific, body type and genes and whatnot.
Because everybody is different. And that's what we talked about in the first podcast, if you didn't hear that. And you're going to hear, all this vegan and keto and I'm paleo and I'm whatever, Atkins and, Ornate, like all these crazy no fat, high carb. It's very confusing and people get the people who get the most tribal about it, and I don't mean this in a mean way, are the people who have been doing it the least amount of time usually, because they haven't been doing it long enough to see that the downfalls, that there are for most people, and that not one diet is right for everybody. So like, if that's part of it, is you need to really do some research and some reading on what each of these diets really is, not from a person who you found on the internet who's just been keto for a year or two and lost 60 pounds or whatever, because eventually they're most likely, what happens for most people is their moods get affected. They're not eating any carbohydrates. They become very carb sensitive, carb cravings, insulin gets messed up, and then it happened after Atkins. For about 5 years after Atkins, I was helping people try to get their metabolism back after months or years of not eating any carbohydrates. And nobody can just not eat carbohydrates forever. It's very hard, and at that point, it's also an eating disorder.
Just because we're talking about carbs, I think it's important to really kind of unpack what the carb, because, carbs, low glycemic carbs. So vegetables are carbohydrates, you guys. That's important to know.
Processed carbs.
Right.
Refined processed carbs.
My diet is super heavy in vegetables, but it's not, I'm not loading my body with, tons of carbohydrates necessarily. It would be very different if I was eating tons of rice and, things like, not to say that that's bad. I'm just wanting to really allow you guys to understand the difference between,
so like processed, like bread and muffins and cookies and chips and Twinkies versus rice or potato or sweet potato. Like, think of things close to the source. That's the way I created the nutrition programs with another nutritionist for all of the South Bay area, I did Hermosa, Redondo, and so for years. And what we did was we tell the kids, eat close to the source. Like, which is closer to the source, a bottle of Gatorade or an orange juice? And it would probably go the orange juice, and then the Gatorade. And a lot of the kids thought the Gatorade was the healthiest because they advertised the most, more than orange. And then they thought orange juice after that. I'm not sure why, but the orange is like straight off the tree, but actually from the supermarket. But like, so you want to eat carbohydrates more how they were made, and how you find them basically is going to have less of a imbalancing effect on your body. And I got kind of off track, but the point was that you have to do some research or work with somebody who's an expert who can so what I do is I work with symptoms, and that's what we do at Black Belt Beauty and Nutrition Solution, are both about finding your specific solution for not just eating, for everything, like exercise and makeup and using natural products on you, all the stuff to be optimal. And with nutrition, either you have somebody who can read your symptoms, which might be you yawn a lot in the afternoon, or you don't have a regular bowel movement, or you get gassy after meals, and basic things like that. You might have leg cramps at night, and someone like me who knows what that means, and someone who can test you, and then we find you the right plan for you. And I could get into good places to start.
I think because ideally it would be great if everyone can go out and get testing, for so many different reasons. And I think that the more that I learn and get deeper into biology, the more that I value, these, not just doing blood work every couple of years, but there's like legit reasons why you want to be checking several different things throughout, the year. And actually, let me say this too, going back to, just the fact that our bodies are constantly changing. So that's really important too, to realize that, that's true. Yeah. There might be a time, listen, let me say this. I don't eat meat, right? Mm-hmm. I eat, my animal protein is fish, and I'm very picky about the fish. It's usually salmon, and organic eggs. I haven't had meat in, well over, I want to say 15 years now, right?
Wow.
If my body woke up, or I wake up tomorrow and I'm like, and I might have said this in the last podcast, but it's fine.
It's okay.
Because it makes perfect sense with this. If I woke up and I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm craving a steak, or I'm craving, being in this position where I am with my diet now, being liberated from the emotional part and really having a connection to the, biological part, I would quickly go, okay, something is missing. Iron, B12, something is calling me to that meat. And carnitine.
Yeah,
I wouldn't know. I can't speak to the mental part because that would probably be really hard for me right now. But if my body was shifting in a way that it was reaching for those things, I'd probably have to get around the mental part of it. I'd find a very ethically clean source of meat, and I would get after it, because the idea that the seed that I'm planting here is that there is nothing in nature that stays the same. It is constantly fluctuating. Did I say that right? We are nature. So to think that it's a straight line, to think that diet is going to be a straight line, that's not. That's a kink in the armor right there.
Great.
There are some. Thank you. Yeah. There are some things, and I think this kind of segues into where we were going to go, anyways. There are some general things I believe, and hopefully I feel like you'll validate. Just in general, more people need more vegetables. Vegetables is like, doesn't matter you eat meat, you don't eat meat, you want vegetables is. The more plants, the better, right, Julie?
Yeah, not 10 to 20 cups. And you know who you are, and I really love you, but not 10 to 20 cups, but I mean per meal or per day. But yeah, I would say 2 to 3 cups per meal would be awesome. Okay. And that's like where I tell most of my patients to shoot for, because just like you can do damage with too many, with too many like junk foods or fake foods, you can do damage actually with some people with too many vegetables. So
there was a post the other day that was so funny, side note.
Yeah.
And it said, I've been training for this my whole life. Chocolate's good for you and lettuce can kill you. Or it was actually the reverse. It was so funny.
I saw that.
But yeah, I mean, but it's safe to say that, even for people who are like, okay, I really want to get off the roller coaster and I want to, detox and get that, get a grip on my diet.
Yeah.
Vegetables, the more vegetables,
the better. And the key to that is learn how to cook them so that you love the way they taste. And it's also, give it time. It's going to take you, first of all, the habits take a while, but cutting the need and the cravings for those really rich tastes and those chemical tastes takes a while.
Yeah.
Like Roxy saw me, I just had a bowl of vegetables that I likely roasted the other night before last, and they taste so sweet and so just yummy to me, because they have a little, I think, coconut oil and a little olive oil on them, and then just sea salt and garlic and onions and spices, and I'm just like, they taste great to me. And there was a time when I would be like, well, I don't want to eat that. It tastes like, but I was also steaming my vegetables down that.
So it's almost like maybe a good way, this just came to my mind, the same discipline and kind of, if I'm going to use word, like kind of mental torture that one would put themselves through to be on a cleanse.
Yeah.
If you understand that, when you're trying to shift your taste bud gears, think of the same way. Like, okay, this is a period. This is just a temporary moment where I need to be disciplined and I need to, just follow, stick to this plan and understand that it's not going to be fun. I don't think anybody goes into a cleanse. It's like, this is going to be great, So if switching up your taste buds is going to, if that's what you're going to do, understand that. Go into it with that same mindset almost. I mean, I would like to say go into it with a loving mindset, but it might not be fun initially.
In the beginning.
But there are ways too, just to add, like you had mentioned coconut oil and olive oil, which adding fats help the bioavailability of greens.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't steam your vegetables. And I learned this in, I think, the first or second year of nutrition school. There was a teacher who gave us an assignment, and I would have done whatever they said back then. I mean, I was trying different herbs and different cleanses. I also worked in a health food store. I was managing it, so I got all that stuff for free. And I just wanted to soak that all up like a sponge. And these teachers are now super famous people, but I was like, they were so my idols, and I just wanted to know what they knew. And he said, okay, I want you guys are eating steamed vegetables, I hope, every night, at least at dinner. I want you to take that water, let it cool down, and water your plants. So the plants grew like they never had before. And I even bought a special plant for this, and he didn't look great before, and he just went nuts. He was so strong. And then he goes, now, how do you think that happened? And none of us had thought of this. I don't know why I didn't think of it, but So I was steaming those vegetables, all the nutrients went down in the water, and then I fed that to the plants. And he's like, okay, now figure out how are we going to do this so that what do you know about fat-soluble vitamins? Well, how are we going to do this so that you're getting what the plant got? And so basically when you steam them, even though when we were being fat phobic as a country, and those were our incorrect guidelines, everybody was like, steam your vegetables, ask for them steamed in a restaurant. It's a skinny, I recommended that to my patients, steam, because that's what I thought the first year I was practicing, that's what I thought healthy was, and that's what I did myself. And it's not. You want to cook them in a little bit of oil, and that kind of gets rid of the problem with oxalates and different, which can create stones sometimes if you're all of a sudden eating a lot of vegetables when you're not used to it. Yeah, like gallstones, kidney stones. So sometimes the combo of keto and a lot of vegetables all at once, you want to kind of ease into this stuff if you can. And if you do have had a history of stones, you probably should work with somebody, a functional medicine doctor. If you're really toxic and you need to detox heavy metals or parasites or something like that, you need to work with a doctor as well. I forgot to mention that at the beginning, but that's a real thing, but it's never going to look like a juice cleanse or anything like that. It's going to be more of like chelation or IV or something, things tested and with a health practitioner. So what was the other? The oil. So you want to make your salad. If you're going to do a salad, that's fine if you're okay with those raw vegetables, because oxalates come from the dark leafy green vegetables. But just cooking them for even 3 minutes, I forget what they call it, not searing it, but like wilting it a little bit on some fire with a little oil, and not on a pan with a little oil.
That's how I make mine.
Yeah, so that
I don't
that
saute
gets rid of the
them.
oxalates for the most part. Like sometimes the autistic kids I work with, they're super sensitive to the oxalates, and just the kids in general that I work with are having some behavioral issues and stuff like that. That's the first sign we see sometimes before we see stones in a kid, is they're having problems with their brain, because it's all connected. So make it in a way that you like your vegetables, and then make sure you're getting a good dose of healthy fats every day.
And I think even the fats, I know that if someone was like, I want to do a cleanse and I want to lose weight, they might be thinking, fat. But I think that if you were taking away, these inflammatory foods, these high sugar foods, and you are implementing more vegetables, which are fibrous and again like so full of water, you're being full. You're not even going to have room to want to reach for those other things. Aside from the fact that you're slowly removing the sugar cravings from your taste buds, but then adding fats is going to help with feeling satiated, right? Not to mention just pleasure.
Yeah, it makes you feel better emotionally, physically, like that. Part of why we went so high carb as a country, and all these diet yo-yos and diet books and diet programs, they made a killing in the last 2 decades, is because we stopped eating fat, and fat is what makes us feel satiated and full and happy and safe. And it just has, there's so many important things that when we don't eat, and I mean healthy fats, because there are fats that are complete poison. They're the opposite. And I know it's so confusing, you guys, because it'll say, like, on a package of ding dongs, it'll say no trans fat or 0 grams trans fat. Well, that's like they're playing with labeling there, or natural this or natural that. Don't believe that. If a package has to tell you it's great health benefits, then it's not healthy. I'm going to tell you right now, there's nothing healthy on there. You want to eat, like, hydrogenated fats and oils are the ones you really want to stay away from. And then the plant fats, the soybean oil, safflower oil, canola oil, those are all, they're not really, they're not vegetables. They're called vegetable oils, but they're not, I don't even know what, I guess plants, but they're the unhealthy plant oils that are more like end products. And sometimes, like, the corn oil is GMO, and
they're inflammatory,
those are inflammatory. Those IL-6 and those get all our inflammatory, pro-inflammatory metabolic things going crazy, and we don't want that. We want things that are going to nourish us and help us absorb those fat-soluble nutrients that are in these beautiful vegetables that we're eating, and make us feel satiated and not obstruct our digestion. And I know it's confusing, but like It's somewhere down the line we'll make a page on my patients all get unhealthy fats, healthy fats, so it's really clear.
The good news is I think there's more clarity coming out on this subject. We're seeing more coconut oil pushes and avocado oils, and so I feel like we're moving in the right direction. But I think that it's important to say, you guys really start reading labels, because even olive oil, let me tell you something. Yeah. They're so sneaky. Yeah. I always ask when I go out to eat, just what oil do you cook with? I know I might be that crazy one, but whatever. Okay. I love my body and I want to feel good. Olive oil, are you sure it's 100%? Come back? No. Yep. No, it's mixed with canola because it's cheaper.
Wow, isn't that crazy?
So you got to look, when you're at the market, make sure that you're because here again, going back to what are we trying to do here? Empower you. Yeah. Empower you to actually get that control, which is really the motivating factor in the first place, for the most part, for most people, right? That's what I feel. People want to reach for these cleanses for. So mixing healthy oils with vegetables, adding more vegetable oils. This is all a pathway to helping the detoxification.
The healthy oils, not the vegetable oils. I think you meant healthy oils, but you said adding more vegetable oils. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, no. Okay. Yeah. Adding more vegetables with healthy oils.
Exactly.
What else,
and
Julie?
Protein, whether it's your animal fat or your plant protein powder or hemp, pea, whatever.
Animal fat?
Wherever, protein. Either your animal protein or your plant proteins. However, whether you're a vegan or not, you got to decide how you're going to get your protein. Because it can be done for a vegan. You just have to decide you're going to do it. Otherwise, most vegans get into a diet that's very carb heavy, and then it's hard to be your optimal weight, and it also messes with moods and cravings and things like that. So
and hormones, probably,
hormones are good point. Yeah. Hormones are really affected brain chemistry. You have to be able to either really dive into your research, and when you're researching, and if you're looking at, this article says this, let's say you're on whatever Lance Armstrong's site, whatever his is.
I don't know.
I can't. You guys know. Or whatever internet site you guys go to for basic health, and it'll say something like, this is healthy for you or this is unhealthy. You also have to, unfortunately, go and look at who funds this person, what studies is it cited, is there a citation? Unless you know the person, like Roxy, me, our background, you can go on my website, you can see my degrees. I put them on my website because I want to be transparent. And you got it, like Dr. Hyman, I know who he is because I've been watching him teach for many years. So he was one of my teachers way back when. So he always puts citations on his stuff, and he points out where the studies are not true. So that's what you have to start. Unfortunately, not only reading labels, but being more discerning about who you believe about nutrition, because I'm sure there's stuff that we've told you in the last podcast and then this podcast that is going completely against what you thought or what you read or what someone else is saying. Mm-hmm. And then you have to go, this person's a clinical nutritionist for 22 years. This person's an internet personality, or I don't know, a coach, or, you just have to decide, this person's a doctor, this person's treats this kind of medicine, this person does functional medicine. Like, you have to kind of do the best you can with weeding through that, though, and then find people who you trust, and then kind of watch their progression and make sure that they're not just trying to sell you things like cleanses and juices and stuff like that. It feels like it would be really clear, but it can get really tricky out there. I'm telling you right now.
Again, bullet point is like, read labels, eat more vegetables, combine them with healthy fats.
And some protein.
Yeah, to
keep your blood sugar stable. Because that's a lot to do with the cravings.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And then I feel like one of the big ones is obviously cutting the sugar, which is so gnarly. Yeah. It's like, oh my God, I can imagine so many people. But the truth is like, listen, if you're going to go down a cleanse path, then you're essentially... you're actually, if you're doing a juice cleanse, you're actually consuming sugar. But, starting to kind of get comfortable in the mind with, I'm going to detox the sugar cravings from my body. How do I do that? You got to stop reaching for it. And that's why,
go back.
Yeah.
Start with what you are going to eat every couple hours. Cool. Go back. But that's how I've done it for 22 years. And people are like, oh my God, I keep them so busy with what buying these vegetables and then cooking them, and like and you know what, don't use I don't cook, or don't use I don't have time to, because I have patients who function at very high levels in the world and they just have people make it for them. Or you can buy for, I think it's $8 or $9 a meal. I have people who make meals for my patients and then drop them off twice a week. So yeah, there's plenty of healthy services out there now. There's plenty that say they're healthy and they're not, but so it could be done if you make it a priority, and you got to think about how much you're spending on not just the junk food that you're eating, because sometimes junk food is cheaper than like the farmer's market.
But, most of the time they make, and
it's sad. It shouldn't be. I mean, we should be encouraging subsidies for organic fruits and meats and things like that, not the crap that corn and stuff like that. But you have to make it a priority. You have to say, how much am I going to waste on feeling crappy and not being my best person and not creating the things I could create and not reaching the levels I could reach? How much am I not thinking clearly? And because that goes back into all the stuff that you say about like what Black Belt Beauty is, right? And that's Nutrition Solutions is what is the solution for your body. We can't even find it until your head's more clear. And I would say just coming cold turkey off sugar is no fun. Once you start eating the right things, the vegetables, and a measured amount of carbohydrate, and it's different for everybody, but like rice or potato, and I mean like 20, 30 grams a meal. And this is just to start you off on a nutrition plan to get you so that you're not reaching for sugar. This is to get your blood sugar balanced. If you could make it breakfast, lunch, dinner, and maybe if you need a snack because it's too far away, these will get you there, and you will be focused. Your mood will be more balanced for most people.
Those genes that are going to be detoxifying, that are going to be
regulated.
They're going to protect you from free radicals. So essentially, a lot of the things that you're reaching for a cleanse, you're going to get it through the food, and I think that's That's the main thing here.
And maybe you won't be completely like loving your bikini body in June, and then where we were like May.
Well, let's just say in a month.
Let's say you won't be bikini ready in a month, but you're gonna feel so good, much better. And you know and I'm not bragging at all. It's almost people who are close to me make fun of me that, and my patients will tell you this. I fix them really fast, and because I don't beat around the bush. I talk kind of fast, and my brain works really fast, and most of them can do it. I just say, look, this is really where you need to go. I get straight to it, and then they're fixed. Like, they feel so much better in a month that they don't have to A, keep seeing me if they don't want to, and B, they don't have to keep riding the roller coaster anymore.
Well, you know what? I love that you said that, and I totally believe it, because you know your business. Yeah. She's no joke. But you know why that makes so much logical sense is because when one starts to feel better, right? Like the body's just performing better, you're sleeping better, your energy's better. You're not operating from a place of something being wrong to where you're trying to fix something, right? Whereas like a lot of the cleanse is like, it's like that psychology stuff, like I gotta fix something because there's wrong things happening, right?
Right.
So even if it's not, let's just say if, oh my gosh, I want my rock solid abs, in 1 month, maybe your rock solid abs are not fully there yet, but you know what? Your waist is a little smaller. Your skin's a little more, clear, and your hair is just shinier. All in all, you feel so much better that now you're like, you know what? I'm on my way. Like I might not
better, and you look better.
Well, all of that. So it's like, you have all these physical things that are starting to happen. It's like a rose budding. It might not be in full bloom yet, even though when you planted the seed, you wanted the rose. But when you start to see and feel, keyword feel, oh my gosh, I'm blossoming. Yeah. You're not gonna, it's like, it's gonna be okay. You're not gonna be like, oh my God, hurry up, rose, I gotta bloom, bloom, bloom. You're like, actually, I'm really enjoying the process of blooming. I'm learning more about myself. I'm learning more. I'm educating myself more about, diet, nutrition, and really and
from a cleaner mind too, and not a mind that's not clouded with all these drugs that you're trying to get off of. And I know maybe to some people we sound crazy about this drug food thing, but it's I've always suspected it, and I've always worked with the pioneers in this field, like the people I named earlier, but it's clinically proven now. It's a fact that these foods act like drugs in your body. So how can you make a good choice about your lunch if your breakfast was a McMuffin? I mean, it's hard, right? So that's, you have to cut to the chase and just say, like, I'm going to make a decision. And maybe you won't be, maybe 4 pounds of water weight lighter in a month or 2 weeks, but you will have better muscle tone. You will feel better, and you won't care that much because you're coming from a more emotionally stable. I'm going to call it like emotionally stable, like almost like sober off of food kind of a thing. Like you're sober off food drugs. Let's just say that. And then where will you be in September?
Oh my gosh.
And then next November, and then Christmas time, when you don't have to be like, I'm just going to go to this office party and eat all this, and then I'm going to start over in January.
Oh my God.
Like, who wants that albatross around your neck of like, oh my God, I got to detox in January, you know? And then let's be real. You do the juice cleanse, and it's like June 1st and your cleanse is over. What are you going to do? You're going to go have a drink and like pig out, right? Most people do that. Because they're so freaking like done with the juice cleanse, and they've just starved themselves and threw their insulin off for 2 weeks. So, and I'm not saying never drink vegetable juice because that would be silly. And again, we are all for fasting, but the easier way to do it is read up on it, research it, or talk to your nutritionist or your doctor, functional medicine doctor, not a Western medicine doctor. Just think we're all crazy, and they've been acting like that to us for years. A lot of them are jumping on board now because they're seeing that there's like a demand for it, and maybe they're starting to wake up. There are doctors who are woke already, which is valuable.
For people like yourself, yeah, like your clinical
for functional nutrition and clinical nutrition, where we're really using food therapeutically.
And I think also one thing to say is that, before doing, if the idea was to do a cleanse or detox, I'm going back to think about what you're really trying to achieve. What is the real goal? It's not the surface goal. I think a lot of times is lose weight, feel great, but nobody wants to lose weight for a month and then gain it back, which very likely you'll gain more back. That's highly the case.
Yeah,
because the metabolism is screwed up.
Most people do, 90%.
And nobody wants to feel like shit when that happens.
Exactly.
So it's like, what's the real goal? The goal again is longevity. It's writing out this feel good, look great, perform great. I mean, that is black belt, that, for as long as you can. So then, when you could be real, when someone can be real with themselves and say like, okay, look, I really wanted to get, lose 5 pounds or whatever, or get my rock solid abs in 3 weeks, but maybe I'm actually done with the roller coaster. Maybe I'm really ready to have rock solid abs, summer body all year long.
Exactly. There's so much power in like surrendering and saying, I'm getting off the roller coaster. I'm done.
Totally.
I'm not doing it anymore. And then you like have so much freedom because you're not on a roller coaster anymore. You're actually in your life. You're just functioning at a very high level. Then.
Exactly.
It's amazing. It is truly akin, I think, to being an alcoholic or a drug addict and then suddenly being free from that and not having to battle it anymore and not having to think, how many calories did I eat? How much fat did I eat? Do I need to, like, you just don't have to go there anymore. Like I told Roxy today, I had a bowl of vegetables and my body, I was vegan a long time. I've been eating meat because I got sick, and a doctor and I made the choice I was going to a couple years ago, and my body's just not liking it. But if I don't eat protein, I don't make it 4 hours, and I don't like to be bothered with having to eat. I like enjoying my food. I love my food, but I got things to do, and I'm not a slave to it. I don't, and when I am, I don't like it. So I popped some nuts in my mouth, and it gave me a little protein and fat, and I popped back up, right? So food is a drug, but it can work for you or it can work against you. A natural drug or the drugs they're making in a factory to give us.
Yeah. So you guys, I know it's a lot of information, but hopefully, you can digest it well and process it well and make it work for you, whatever you receive from this. We hope that it definitely empowers you, and there's a lot more coming on these topics with Juli, so thank you so much again.
Thank you. If you like it, give her a review and hit subscribe. I've always wanted to say that, so.
You're so you.
This is only my second podcast, you guys, so.
You're so cute. Yeah, you guys, I love all the reviews. All the support is super helpful. Truly ignites my heart. Julie shares with me some of the feedback that came from our last episode, and it's so rad, you guys. So, please share this with those that you love if you really took value from it. And super excited to catch you guys on the next one.
Later, beauties.
Beauties and badasses. Thanks for taking the time to check out this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, please share it with your friends. Head over to iTunes, subscribe to this podcast, rate it, leave me an honest review. Let's connect. I'm so excited to do that in this space and really create content that elevates your mind in support of your best performance in life. You can find me on Instagram at blackbeltbeauty. I'm active there every single day, and I look forward to connecting with you all. So thanks again, and I'll catch you on the next one.